We won't get to every race tonight, but we will have many insights and look-ins, and we're going to start with Ed O'Keefe, who has all things Thomas Massie from Kentucky. Ed.
Major, good to see you. The congressman is in the building preparing to look through results that come in less than an hour. 6 p.m. Eastern is when the polls close here in the 4th Congressional District of Kentucky. For those of you familiar with the geography of this state, it stretches from the suburbs of Louisville up here to the suburbs of Cincinnati and keeps going to the northeastern corner of the state that borders West Virginia. And the race is between Thomas Massie, the incumbent, and Ed Gallrein, who is the Trump-backed insurgent challenger who got a rare, somewhat ethically, legally dubious visit yesterday from the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at an event just down the street from us here, who made an 11th-hour appeal to Republicans in this district to vote with the president's preferred choice, Gallrein. But Massie is convinced that this is a pretty evenly divided contest and one that he can prevail in, despite the fact, as we've noted, $32 million plus spent on advertising, mostly by outside groups opposed to Massie's re-election. We spoke with the congressman in his hometown of Vanceburg, Kentucky, on Monday, had a wide-ranging discussion about the president, about Israel, his concern and his opposition to funding for that country, and opposition to the war with Iran. And take a listen to what he had to say. Based on results we've seen recently in Indiana with state senators, in Louisiana with Senator Cassidy, other races in the past, it seems that being a Republican in this day and age requires loyalty to President Trump.
Well, I don't draw too much from those races. First of all, Senator Cassidy also alienated some of the constituencies, whether it was for cutting spending or whether it was for Maha. But he voted to impeach Trump. I have never done that. I've never even said an unkind word about President Trump. And then you have the state senators in Indiana. They sure enough crossed Trump, but they made the mistake of crossing their constituents. Their voters wanted them to redraw those lines, so they went against their voters. The difference here is I'm going for my voters in the minor instances where it conflicts with Trump, and that's what's got Washington, D.C. mad. But I'm going to win. Look, I had 3 congressmen campaign with me on Saturday. And that's what you see in this race that you didn't see in Bob Good's race in Virginia. You had members of Congress go to Virginia and campaign against him. You can't find any members of Congress willing to do that in Kentucky.
What do you make of the defense secretary, a cabinet secretary that doesn't normally campaign for any member of either party, showing up today? He says on his personal time to campaign against a sitting congressman.
How much personal time do you have when you're supposed to be monitoring a war in Iran? I think it shows how serious this race is, but it also shows how in trouble the other side is. You don't send the Secretary of War to Kentucky during a war if you think your candidate is up 10 points. That's what you do when you realize your whole campaign is imploding.
If you lose, is it because of the pressure from the president?
I normally win 80-20. If the president had merely endorsed a warm body, that's his affectionate term for my opponent, it's a warm body from Central Casting, I would have won 60-40. The difference in this race, what people need to watch, is it's a referendum on whether the Israeli lobby can buy a seat in Congress and how much they're willing to spend to try, and in order to intimidate the entire Republican Party into having zero dissension on foreign policy toward Israel.
You know that kind of criticism doesn't sit well with fellow Republicans, at least in the House Republican Conference, that there are others who've accused you of all sorts of things regarding Israel, regarding the state of Israel, regarding the Israeli government, regarding Jewish Americans. Are you anti-Semitic?
They're trying to tell you that it's anti-Semitic for me to expose the fact that the Republican Jewish coalition has spent millions of dollars in this race, that a dual citizen, Miriam Adelson, who even Trump says is more loyal to Israel than the United States, has spent millions of dollars in this race. Those are mere facts. And it's
okay,
really...
But it's a yes or no. Are you anti-Semitic or not?
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
I'm hell no anti-Semitic. But here's the danger that AIPAC runs. They've been too cute by a half. They've tried to get Mike Johnson, and he's willingly done this, conflate in resolutions on the House floor that anti-Zionism equals anti-Semitism. Or even worse yet, that if you don't support Benjamin Netanyahu's war in Gaza, then you're anti-Semitic. That's absolutely false, and it does Jewish Americans a big disfavor to equate the two.
You hear the congressman talking there about various wealthy Republican donors who are financing these groups. Marian Adelson is one, Paul Singer's another. These are organizations that have donated in Republican primaries and in general elections in the past, and Massie points out they're the ones that started spending before groups associated with the president. Another thing to point out, Major, when the president talks about him being the worst congressman there is, worst Republican congressman, Massie points out, look, my voting record with the House Republican Conference is about 90%. I'm with him 90% of the time. It's on the Iran war, the Epstein files, and federal spending mostly, aid to Israel being another, and all foreign aid, that I vote against my party. But I'm with him 90%. If that's too disloyal for this president, well, I'm voting the conscience of my district, he says.
Ed O'Keefe, thank you very much.